Thank you kindly, Kim. That was wonderful. You know me better than I do. I'm impressed. All right, well, I'm going to talk today about passive income and other money myths. This should be fun, but let's just start by maybe just having a little fun here. Who's happy they came to FI? Raise your hand if you're happy you came to CampFI. John, yeah, okay, there it is. All right. John wasn't sure, but it's there. Raise your hand if you went to the campfire last night. Wow, a lot of you. Raise your hand if you stayed up till midnight or later. Okay, I missed out on some good times last night, didn't I? I called it an early night. Raise your hand if you got up and exercised this morning. Okay, yeah, a few of you. Good. All right. Tonight, maybe I'll be staying up late with you, but let's talk about passive income, okay? So this 30-year-old makes $114,000 a month in passive income. But then it's talking about 4 businesses you can start. Which is it? Is he running businesses or is he earning passive income? Well, he earns his passive income from affiliate marketing. That's work. YouTube, recording, editing videos, that's work. Digital products, he's creating them, marketing them, selling them. Definitely work. Renting out a room in his home, that's work, and that's someone else in your house. So it is nothing, not passive. I don't blame Mr. Chang here. He's hustling, he's doing his thing. But the headline says passive income. It ain't. No. Let's look at another one of these. Shoot, what time is it? I got to make a quick phone call. I'm calling bullshit on this. So they make $13,000 in just over a month, but if you can read the fine print, they own 2 homes, one in Rio, one outside of Yosemite. They made $18,000 in 9 months renting them out on Airbnb. So they're not making $13,000 a month, they're making $2,000 a month because they own 2 homes and go back and forth between the 2, probably spending a lot of money to fly from California to Brazil and back, right? So it's not ideal here, right? They should call it fake it till you make it. They call it CNBC, make it. But it's fake it till you make it because their income, again, comes from owning 2 homes, renting them out on Airbnb. That is work. Now, you can hire a property manager and you can do certain things, but basically they own a couple of assets and make some money from it, but not $13,000 a month. Again, not their fault. It's the headline. They're wedding photographers, and I'm sure they work a lot more than an hour a week at that job. One more, and not to make fun of Michelle. She's a great gal. We like her. But the headlines are written. This 33-year-old mom makes $760,000 a year in passive income. Blogging is not passive. I know. I blog. But, it's been good to her. She's been able to buy a 42-foot catamaran, sail around the world. They're a little more honest here at Next Advisor than they are at, this is again, fake it till you make it. It says this blogger makes $2,000 a day. Okay, so that's good. But then down here, they kind of dropped the ball again. Where did it say? Oh yeah, over $60,000 a month in passive income. This isn't passive income, right? And what does Michelle say about her work, her 10 hours a week? Yeah, when interviewed last year, and this came up on Google, I work anywhere from 10 hours per week to over 60. They forgot that part when they wrote the headline for the article. So, yeah, it just depends on what my goals are for the week, what needs to be done. But she's working, she's not making passive income, she's earning income, and a lot of it. Good for her. So what kind of income out there is truly passive? I don't think owning rental properties is necessarily passive. I don't think all these side hustles and side gigs are passive. But when you earn interest in a savings account or money market account, CD, I don't know, I keep looking there, it's right here. Anyway, you get paid a little bit of money every month for the last 3 or 4 months, a little bit more money just to have money in a savings account. You can collect dividends, right? You own stocks, you own bonds, you own mutual funds. Well, they'll give you money every quarter, sometimes every month. That's really passive. Now you had to earn the money, put it there, but it's passive income. distributions from real estate investments. And these are the ones where it's a syndicated deal, someone else put together. You did a little due diligence up front, a little bit of work there. But you get money every month, mailbox money. I think that's pretty passive, okay? But what do they all require? Capital, right? You need a lot of money to put into the savings account, to buy the mutual funds, to put money into the real estate fund or the syndication. Okay, so passive income, at least in my mind, is really just a return on your investment. It's part of the return. You know, you have the passive income, you have appreciation. Together, they make up your total return. I think maybe residual income is a better term. It's what you get for owning things, and it's really difficult to get true passive income without a lot of capital. And time can be capital. Maybe you put a lot of time into something like a blog, and then maybe you kind of put it on autopilot, and you have your digital courses that you already created, whatever, someone else running it. You can make it passive, but only after putting in a ton of capital in terms of time and or money. Okay, more fun money myths. Dividends are a really good thing. We love dividends, right? Yeah, if you like taxes, you should like dividends. There are so many blogs out there and Twitter accounts to just dividend growth, dividend this, dividend that. I mean, if you're owning your dividend-paying stock or fund in a taxable account, a brokerage account, anything but a tax-advantaged retirement account, you're paying taxes every time you get a dividend. So let's say you have $1 million in index funds in a brokerage account, and it's a mix of US and international, so maybe you get about 2%, maybe 1.5 to 2% per year in dividends. That's $15,000 to $20,000. It is passive income, but if you're still working and in the higher tax brackets, you're going to pay anywhere from 15% to up to about 35, 36%, depending on where you live and what tax bracket you're in, even for long-term qualified dividends. Qualified dividends or long-term capital gains. But when you get a dividend, this little graph here on the right, all of it will be taxed unless you happen to be in a very low income situation, like you might be in retirement and in the 0% tax bracket for capital gains. But if you're still working, you are going to pay, in Minnesota, I was talking with Bill about this last night, you've got your 15% capital gains. If you earn a little more, you pay the 3.8% surcharge. It's the NIIT that pays the Affordable Care Act. Then you've got state income tax of just about 10%, maybe 7%, unless you make more money, 10%. It adds up to like 30 some percent. It's no good, right? If you want to make your own dividend, you can sell shares of a mutual fund, index fund stock that you bought. And if you sell something that has no gain, you pay no tax. If you sell something that doubled in value, well, you only pay tax on half of it. You don't pay tax on the capital, just on the gains. So I always say if you really love dividends and you love mailbox money, buy something really low dividend and set it up to sell a little bit every month. You can do that in retirement. Actually, kind of makes sense. You can make your own dividend and you won't pay as much taxes when you do. So are dividends a sign of a healthy company? Maybe, you get these people that say, hey, let's look at the stocks that have raised their dividend every year for 20 years, and these are the dividend kings, and they're awesome. Well, right, because you're taking all the winners. You're taking every stock that's done good for 20 years and showing me, hey, it's done well. It's like, well, that was one of the criteria that you were looking at. Did it do well? Yes. So of course it did well. And usually, when you look at like academic studies, white papers that look at like these dividend darlings, they'll find that when you control for value and quality, those stocks don't do any better than similar stocks that are equally, value kind of stock. It's just, I don't know. There's a lot of hype around dividends, and it really doesn't help. It's just part of your total return, but it's the part that gets taxed. Okay, if it's in a tax-advantaged account, your Roth IRA, your 401k, then it really doesn't make any difference. You won't be taxed on the dividend, so that's good. But again, what happens when you receive a dividend? If you have a $100 stock that pays a $2 dividend, now you have a $98 stock and $2. You can reinvest it, now you have $100 again. It's really not free money that a lot of people seem to think it is. Okay, you need a budget. Kim needs a budget, apparently, because she was asking for help with you need a budget. And Jesse will tell you, you need a budget because he does make money when you sign up for his software. But no, you don't. Tracking your spending works. I think that some people certainly need budgets, maybe for a short period of time, maybe for a long period of time. But if you are someone who values money, spends intentionally, understands what things cost, you don't need to say, well, I'm going to allow myself $100 for clothing and $400 for groceries and $150 for rest. I've never budgeted. I had a loose idea of what we were spending when I figured out we were FI because I paid the credit card bill every month, right? And that's where almost everything is. So we started tracking spending a little more carefully once I started a blog, just so I could prove to myself and my readers that yes, I am FI, but I've never had a budget and I've stopped tracking. I did it for 3 years. I'm like, okay, it's consistent, we're good. So when someone says, you need a budget, you have to be budgeting. Now, if you're a spendthrift and you don't know where the money's going and you can't save anything, then at least start with tracking. Maybe move to a budget once you figure out where you're at and where you can cut. But I don't think you need a budget. Just think, I don't think you need a side gig, although that looks like it might be kind of fun to do. So no, you don't. Those people I showed at the beginning, again, I don't hold any grudges against them. They just got crappy headlines written about them. They'll have side gigs, right? Multiple side gigs. Maybe that's their only gig. But really, if you want to become financially independent, you really, you need one gig. You need to make money, but it can be just one well-paid gig. Bill, you've had one well-paid gig for 30 plus years, right? I'm sure you got to FI and beyond with one job. So you might look around and hear people talking, and people are doing real estate, and people are doing blogs, and people have podcasts, people do all these things. That's cool, that's fun. It can be a great way to, explore different avenues, use a different part of your brain, and do something, fun and creative, or maybe just get free beer, whatever. But you don't need one. It might be a good transition to fire for me. As Kim mentioned, I started a blog when I was working full-time, continue that on to after I left my full-time anesthesia job, and I think it did help. I didn't go from working really hard to not working. I still had this blog to kind of carry me through and give me something to do. And when people ask if I'm retired or they point fingers, they say, you're not really retired, are you? Like, no, I retired from medicine. I don't say I'm a retired person. To retire is something that you do. That's something I did once and I will do again, I'm sure, maybe a couple of times. I work a lot less than I used to, and I'm maybe semi-retired, but no, I had a side gig, I transitioned, it was all good. Okay, let's do a hand-raising thing. Who traveled for free with points today to get here? Mark did, Gwen did, yes, Aaron, all right, Diana, good, all right, bunch of you, awesome. But you didn't travel for free. You didn't, right? When you use a credit card, you'll get a welcome bonus, when you spend $4,000 in the first 3 months. And then you'll get some points for every dollar you spend. And 2% is kind of the baseline. You can get a cashback card that gives you 2%, no annual fee, pretty simple, right? And every new card will give you some points or miles or whatever it is, or cash, because they're all kind of equivalent, right? So money is fungible, credit rewards are fungible. So if you used, let's say, 40,000 points to book this flight, that's awesome. You didn't pay cash, but you used 40,000 points that could also be exchanged for $400 or $500 that you could have used for something else. So all this free travel, it's just you're taking some of what the credit card company charges the retailers. That's about a little over 3%. They give a lot of that back to you. You can use it for whatever you want. Money is fungible. You can take that and pay your electric bill. You can buy your groceries. You can do whatever, or you can travel. But again, this whole concept of free travel, you could have used those points, those miles in some other way, including straight cash. This one I like, still looking up there. Earning more is, in some people's minds, just as good as spending less, right? But it's kind of a weak justification because the bigger your budget becomes, the higher your FI number needs to be, okay? So you're going to have a loftier goal if you're used to spending more money. And then the other side of it, a dollar that you don't spend is like the same as earning $1.70, right? Because every dollar that doesn't leave your pocket, you keep $1. You know, for every dollar you earn, you keep maybe 60 to 70 cents after taxes. So a couple of ways that spending less is actually more advantageous than earning more. You can certainly do a combination, but on my side I have a calculator. It's just the time to FI, and I made this pretty simple. It's basically just a compound interest calculator. But this says someone is investing $5,000 a month, $60,000 a year. They want to spend $80,000 a year, so they need $2 million, which will be 25 years worth of expenses to hit their FI number at somewhat realistic returns of 2 to 6%, 18 to 26 years. That's how long it would take them to become financially independent. Take another family, another person, they're also investing $5,000 a month, but they want to spend $120,000. They need $3 million for their FI number. Now they're up to 23 to 35 years. So we just added 5 to 9 years to their working time. Both are saving $60,000 a year. We'll do one more. Here's a true fat fire, $160,000 annual spend. These numbers are not unusual in the people that I talk to. They're putting away $5,000, you know, and so spending $160, saving $60, that's a pretty good savings rate actually. But to get to $4 million, you know, 27 to 42 years. Now we're up by 9 to 17 years more, even though all three are saving the same amount of money. So earning more is not the equivalent of spending less. The notorious B.I.G. said, "Mo money, mo problems," right? He had it right, I think. Now, obviously, it's good to have money, and I think at least a few $1 million is really nice. And there's probably a point, and I don't know what number that is, and I'm still trying to figure that out. But once you have maybe 5 million, maybe 10 million, you're not going to live your life differently if you have more than that. And if you do, you might regret it. And so, you know, I think becoming FI is awesome. I think having billions, having hundreds of millions, you read about these people, they don't always seem happy, right? They're just like, yeah. So, you know, and it's also probably good to not let everyone know that you have money, right? Stealth wealth, okay, I think there's a benefit to that. Yeah, I don't know. I could talk all day about this. I mean, there's happiness studies. Yes?
Oh, sorry, no.
Oh, I thought you're stretching. I thought Lolly had a question. We'll get to that, though. We'll do question and answer. Happiness studies just, you know, show that once you're at an income, now the study is 10 years old, but above about 75,000, that there wasn't much increase in happiness above that. A little bit higher, like contentment and life satisfaction rating, but additional studies have kind of shown the same thing. When you get into 6 figures, it doesn't make you much happier to have multiple 6 figures. And I think the same is probably true of net worth. Once you have enough to do what you want with a generous budget, you know, more money isn't going to do a whole lot more for you. Fortune favors the brave, said Matt Damon in October of 2021. And Bitcoin at the time was right here. It was like over $60,000, pushing $70,000. And if you were brave enough to follow Matt through time and space and invest in crypto through crypto.com, you would not be very fortunate. It has not gone so well. Now, if you got in on Dogecoin before it became a meme and then sold it at the peak before it lost 90% of its value, then yeah, you could make a nice fortune. So risk is one way to actually make a lot of money. You can get rich taking a big risk, but you can also lose a lot taking big risks. So fortune doesn't always favor the brave, but if you are someone who can earn, save, invest in a boring way, like index funds, real estate, things that are kind of tried and tested and proven to work well. Well, that's where really you can more or less guarantee you'll end up with that fortune. My last slide, this is Mary. Mary works at Costco. She's serving raw wieners, I think. I don't know if she was trained in very well, but she might be retired, and this is her retirement job. So I think you never stop working, in some capacity, even if you leave your full-time job, your regular career. There's fire equals recreational employment. I can't remember where that came from last night, but you're allowed to do things. Whether or not you make money from them is another thing. But it might be caring for your children, caring for parents or relatives that are aging or ailing. All kinds of work you can do. You can work on yourself, right? Learning another language, fitness goals, all that kind of stuff. Life is going to be full of work. If it's not, it's going to be really boring. And so when people, again, talk about retirement, my friend Jim Dawley, the white coat investor, he likes to say retirement is squishy. And as I mentioned earlier, I think retire is a verb. I think it is something you do. It's when you leave a job and move on to something new. And that might end up being another job. So I think that's all I have. And I am happy to take questions and your applause as well. All right.